Welcome everyone. We're joined by new UMass Dartmouth varsity women's basketball head coach Matt Ducharme, who's actually in his fourth year overall on staff, but his first as head coach. So first off, Coach, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting.
So you are new to the position of head coach, but you're not new to either the basketball team or to the university, and we've known each other for quite a while, as you're not new to the Tripp Athletic Center either, getting your start back in the fitness center. Just tell everybody a little bit about the winding road that brought you to where you are now.
It's quite a winding road. That's a great analogy. I'm an alum of the university, graduated there in 2000, and I've always had like a passion for UMass Dartmouth. So I started my first foray into the working world of UMass Dartmouth. I was a strength and conditioning coach for all the athletic teams. So that was my first meeting of the athletic staff and really getting in there and really falling in love with that whole process. Through some rearranging on campus, I ended up in the admissions office, which I wasn't sure how that was going to be. That was an interesting sidebar in my career, but in the long run, it ended up being a blessing so that I knew a lot about the school. I knew a lot about everything that was necessary, strong majors, student groups, everything you'd want to talk to a recruit about in athletics. So it's something that's really been a strong point for me going forward. And then as I was thinking about getting into the teaching world, which I also do on the other side, Coach Van Voorhis at the time was adamant that she wanted to keep me on staff, and she had an opening as an assistant coach, and she's like, "You interested?" And I jumped at the opportunity because coaching basketball was always something that was in my blood. I always coached the younger kids through the YMCA's and stuff growing up. So this was something that I was like, yes. So I got right in, got right on board. She got my feet wet and got me rolling right away. And then the last couple of years been really working hand in hand with her. And we have who's still my associate head coach this year, Keyshawn Ruff. We both started at the same time. And so this year, when Amanda got the promotion to the athletic director, she said, "This is an opportunity," and I again jumped at it because you can't let opportunities pass you by in life. And that's the road that led me to where we are today. I think the continuity with the team was an important factor. Knowing the girls, the ladies, and moving on with them, I think was very important.
So you certainly come by coaching naturally, no question about that, but the path that you have taken, where you worked in the fitness center, and then the time in admissions is very unique for somebody as a head coach in this league. You've got to be the only one out of the 8 that has that experience, but you're very well positioned when you go out after a kid to not only talk about the athletic resources that you have in the building that have expanded and gotten better, but also specific academic programs and resources that are available to students. So I mean, you really are just a walking view book as you go out and talk to these players as you go to games. And tell me about how that's been able to help you out on the recruiting trail.
It helps a lot more, and maybe it sounds a little funny. It helps a lot more with the parents.
Sure.
Students love basketball. A lot of times it's like their number one or 1A. They want their academics, they want their majors, they want their strong majors, but the parents really want to know, are my kids going to go there and have a good education and get what they need? And after 4 years of playing basketball, they're going to have a career that they can use. So I think it's a strong point when I'm talking to parents about these majors, very strong. These are the internship opportunities. These are the resources on campus that you can use while you're here to make sure your academics are on point. All the student groups that they can do outside of basketball, because college life today, as students are looking for colleges, they're looking for outside of other things. They're not looking for just the major. They're not looking for just their sport, but what else can I do when I'm not playing basketball or I'm not studying? What else can I do? And I think having that time at admissions has just given me this wealth of information that I have, and it comes across as like, okay, maybe he knows what he's talking about. He's not just feeding me the line, like selling me the used car. He actually believes in it and he knows it. So I think it's a very strong point. Hopefully it correlates well with a good, strong recruiting class every year.
So you spent 3 years as an assistant coach prior to this year, and these 3 years really have been the golden age, at least in recent history, for UMass Dartmouth basketball. Endured a pretty long tenure of about 15 years, with some well below 500 seasons that Coach Amanda Van Voorhis was finally able to get spun around before elevating to the athletic director's position. And you were there to get to see those 3 years, but you're also able to see the prior teams from arm's length. What are some of the biggest cultural differences from those 3, 4, 5, 6 win teams to the 15, 20-win teams that we've seen the last couple of times out?
The biggest cultural, it's got to be the desire, like just this hunger. When out on the recruiting trail, I always look, and Amanda, Coach Van Voorhis was very good at instilling this in me too, is make sure we see that they love basketball, that they want to play. It's not about me, it's about the team. I might be the best player on the team, but everybody else has their place and their role, and you just see it when they're on the court that they still defer to some other people that need the time, and they love basketball. They're in the gym when they don't need to be sometimes. They're keeping their studies up because in reality, they're student athletes, and students the first thing, right? So we want to make sure they're strong athletes because an ineligible player is not a player you want, right? So it's just something, I just see this hunger in this team that's coming up in the last 4 years, and that they were quite honestly tired of losing. It's not a culture that I would ever want, and I don't think anybody ever did before either. It just happened. And then that's tough to break from, because then athletes looking at your school are saying, well, that's not a program that really takes winning seriously. And I think now it's a lot different. Students, when you talk to people when you're on the recruiting trail, they're like, oh yeah, you guys have been doing really good lately. We see that, okay, now maybe this is something we can believe in, and our daughter can go there and be successful, not only as a student, but have a successful 4 years playing basketball.
And the highlights, of course, there being 50 wins over the last 3 seasons, including a 20-win year and a trip to the Little East Championship game 2 years ago. And one of those players that really embodies what you're talking about is somebody that loves basketball, somebody that's hyper-competitive, is your senior point guard, and Kelsey Garrity, who is somebody that Coach Van Voorhis went out and identified as someone who could really start to build this thing and get it going. You've got her for 1 more year now, and I imagine you've got to have her installed as someone who can try to lead this team in her senior year.
Well, this is something we've said probably for like the last 2 or 3 years, is as Kelsey goes, so go the Corsairs. Right. She is the driving force behind what we do. She started as a point guard in the Little East Conference for 4 years, which starting as a freshman, that's a big to do. And she really grasped it, took the proverbial bull by the horns and really went after it. And this year, I just see this maturity that's in her, this desire to be the leader on the court that, it's just something you've seen grow over 4 years, and now it's there. So this is her team. So it's her turn to take it. I mean, we've had players of the year 2 years ago. We had Colleen Moriarty, and we had Erica Borneman was a strong player last year. Now this is her team. So I am excited to see what she has to do this year.
Now, Colleen's going to be coaching against you this year, from what I understand, at UMass Boston. Did you call her in and make her hand in her playbook on the way out?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting thing. In fact, hopefully we have a 1,000-point banner going up this year, and I have to check with UMass Boston, but I'd like to put that up actually when they're here, which would be an interesting thing to have Colleen on the other side of the other UMass. But we've talked a few times. I've seen her on the recruiting trail, and she's like, wow, this is really strange. I'm like, you're telling me. But I'm excited for her. I think this is a great opportunity for her to get her feet into coaching, and who knows, the sky's the limit for her. She's a great person, was a great player, so I'm excited for her.
And she really helps illustrate what's been going on in the Little East since you've gotten in here, and that's a lot of talented coaches have gotten involved and have really raised the whole tide in this conference. This was a league a few years back where there were only a couple of competitive teams year in, year out, but you've gotten a lot better. UMass Boston's gotten a lot better, and the teams that were strong are still strong. And so what does it take for you to go out there knowing you're going to have to compete against a very solid perennial national champion program in Southern Maine, both of the Connecticut schools, Keene State, now Boston? Seems like everybody has got a shot at it. Rhode Island College has won the league a couple of times. This has really become much more of a diverse league and a much more talented league than it was a few years ago. So how do you keep your team on par with the other 7?
It all comes down to recruiting at that point. It's actually a selling point. The Little East Conference has become such a competitive powerhouse of a conference, and I saw one ranking where it was ranked 7th in the country for Division III conferences, which I was like, wow. And that's something that players that want to play basketball, want to play competitive basketball, they look at. I mean, you think about football players in Division I, when they see an SEC school coming to them, they're like, now that's where I want to play, because it's the competitive conference. Not only the team, but the conference is competitive. And I think that is a strong recruiting point for us, is saying we're playing in a very competitive program, and our goal is to win this conference championship. So do you want to be part of that building process? Do you want to be part of the first team ever at UMass Dartmouth to win that Little East Conference? I love that it's competitive. I think it's great. It drives my competitive juices, because I want to recruit other teams. I want to be the one that brings in the gold standard of player that they were looking for, and I want them. So I think it's a great thing. It's something that UMass Dartmouth's not used to, but I think we will be.
So, and this can be a tough place to recruit in that you have a few constraints. There's a big gap between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. You're 2 towns away from the Rhode Island border, so it's not like you have a huge geographic territory of your own, and there are a lot of other state schools competing for those same students. But it seems like you're challenging and pushing back against that a little bit. You're trying to recruit both in the area and out of the area. How are you going about trying to look under some rocks to find some people who can play?
Well, there's a few things, actually. That's a great point. And recently, UMass Dartmouth's done a great thing and allowed for a proximity discount within the whole state of Rhode Island, which I think is awesome. That opens up some borders. And then the other things you do is you always, like you said, look under every rock you can. So I use some websites. A lot of the student athletes these days are using, there's a couple, Be Recruited and NCSA, or 2 of the ones I look on a lot. And you just, you look people you like, you talk to the coaches, so you see if you see somebody on film that you think might be doable, but they live in, say, Colorado. It's not easy to get out there and live scout, but you can, you talk, you see the film, you talk to the parents, because I think that's always a big driving force, especially if you want their daughter to move across the country.
Definitely.
You need to make sure that the parents trust you and can say, okay, I can trust them with my daughter for 4 years. And then you talk to the high school coaches. So you got to look under every rock you possibly can. You can't always be looking in your backyard. You got to look at some other people's backyards from time to time, and you just hope for the best. And you always make sure. One of my tenets for that recruitment process is tell the truth, because you don't want to, after a year, have a student athlete say, well, you promised me this or you told me this and this isn't true. So I just think you got to be genuine and you got to be truthful, but you got to believe in what you're saying too.
All right, so let's dive into the schedule a little bit.
Okay.
This is a 2014-15 preview we're trying to get at here, and there's some quirks in the Division III scheduling rules. You're not allowed to play until the 15th of November, and then once you do, you've got Thanksgiving and finals and Christmas all right upon you. So you've got to try to find a way to get a decent first semester slate in there, and you're going to come right out with 2 games on opening weekend, a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, 15th and 16th, taking on Norwich the 15th, and then spin it right around to take on Colby Sawyer the following day. So tell me what you've learned about those 2 teams and how you went about finding them to bring them into this opening weekend classic.
Well, it's full disclosure. Coach Mavori set up the schedule before she left. So she left me with a very tough out-of-conference schedule this year, which I'm actually very excited about. Norwich, always a perennial powerhouse in their conference, the GNAC. Colby Sawyer is also very strong within their conference as well. And we have also, she scheduled us for Williams this year, which is always going to be a nice litmus test for us to see where we're at. I'm excited for that game. I love the scheduling. It is tough around finals, and then you have to wait until January again till you play. So that's a tough time to keep your players in conditioned, make sure they're getting their shots up when you can't have any organized activity at that time. You want to make sure that they have their family time, because that's important. So it's going to be an interesting schedule this year. I'm excited. The LEC looks just as stacked as ever, so that's going to be another tough road for us. But I feel like this team that we have this year is going to be, they're ready to take it to them. So I'm excited.
And then over the course of a basketball schedule, you have different peaks and valleys at the beginning. You'll have a bunch of games and you can't have any, and you'll try to wedge some more in before you take the longer breaks. But once you make the turn into 2015, that's when you really start to churn them out. 2 and 3 games a week, every single week through the end of February. And it's over as soon as it starts. It's no sooner is it New Year's than you're into the league tournament. And so what are some of the biggest matchups that you see between, say, the first of the year and the end of the regular season slate?
Well, I think Williams is a big test for us. And then it really gets into our conference schedule. So when we have our Southern Maines, we have our 2 against Southern Maine. I think Eastern Connecticut's going to have a really good year this year. Western Connecticut always has their A game ready for us, as they beat us 3 times last year. That won't happen again. And then, I mean, it goes so crazy. It's like this first month before the first game, it's like, okay, we're ready to start playing. And then all of a sudden it's February. And the season's like winding down. It's like, where did the time go? But it's always a fun time in the season. Every year when January starts, it's like, here comes conference time. Let's go.
So we mentioned Kelsey a little bit, but you've had a chance to see your team for the better part of a month now, and you've got to have at least a working idea of what your rotation is going to look like. For the fans at home that might not know this team as well as you do, who are some of the other players that you're going to be leaning on to give you some significant minutes and put a lot in the stat sheet?
Well, luckily for us, we have this returning player that ended up, Megan Ronigan, who ended up winning not only the Conference Rookie of the Year, she was the New England Women's Basketball Association Rookie of the Year, and also the ECAC Rookie of the Year. So she had a tremendous freshman year. I know teams going to be gunning for her to shut her down this year, so we've been preparing her for that, preparing her for a lot of double and triple teams. So she'll be a big contributor this year. I think she's going to have a fantastic season. We have our captain, Erin Fahey, who is in her senior year. She's going to be coming in this year. She should be producing some I'm looking for some double-doubles out of her. I'm hoping she can pull that out. We have Beth Castantini, who's returning as a junior this year. She's been every year has had a pretty good role. I think I've seen the most improvement out of her in this preseason. I know she worked really hard in the summer. I was getting reports from everybody saying Beth looks really good coming in this year. So I'm excited about what she's going to bring. She just had a really good scrimmage against Curry, so I'm very optimistic in what she's going to bring. We have a few newcomers that are coming in. We got Rachel McCarron, who came out of UMass Lowell last year. And then we have Alicia Gutil, who came from Franklin 2 years ago. I recruited very heavily. She ended up going to Mary Washington and then realized, wait a minute, UMass Dartmouth's where I belong. So she's here now, excited, happy. I think she's going to be a surprise to a lot of people that she's coming in. Let's see, we have Colleen Kane, who's coming out, who's also an all-world lacrosse player. So she's just a great athlete, great attitude. Love having her on the team. And she also is very good at when I have recruits, she's so smart and she has nursing. So she's had this time management skill that I don't have. I wish I had it as well as she does. She is amazing at what she does. And I know I'm forgetting people because I'm blanking right now.
No problem. So the last thing I'll mention to you is we've got a few people watching on Community TV, a few more on the UMD Corsairs YouTube channel, and you and I both know that games at the Trip are one of the best kept secrets in the South Coast. So a lot of entertainment, not a lot of money. So tell people about when your games are, when you can expect to be seen at home, and why they should come out and check out your games.
Well, we're exciting. That's number one. We're gonna put together a show every time we go out there. We're gonna always be working hard. We play almost when the season starts. We play a lot of Tuesdays and Saturdays. We're always before the men if we're playing back-to-backs. So 5:30 on most Tuesdays. The schedule is online, so please check us out at Corsairathletics.com. And Saturdays we're usually the early games. So you can come have some lunch, come and go to Marisol's, have a chippy, and come and watch the game. That's what I'm excited. We want as much fans in there as possible. Domino's does a good job of doing some fan appreciation stuff. So it's always, I think the atmosphere is great. We have a great parent following. So we always have some fans in there. It's nice to have the community come and watch us and support us. I think you'll be happy with what you see.
All right, Coach, best of luck with this new challenge. And again, congratulations on being at the helm.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about this year.
All right, that's Matt Ducharme, head basketball coach for the women's team at UMass Dartmouth. They're getting set to tip it off this weekend, and you can find all that action, as always, on Corsairathletics.com.